Did you watch the Bo Burnham special yet?
Nope.
You haven't heard the Jeff Bezos song?
I heard Eamon sent me that. I have heard it. Yeah.
My friend who reviews films like every year, he has this top 10 films that I love. He says this is like the best thing he's seen in a long time,
It's
this Bo Burnham thing.
incredible. It's a
Yeah,
masterpiece. It is so good. It is so,
nice.
so good.
Yeah.
That's
Clifford's
awesome.
been talking about it for like 3 days. He keeps making jokes and then being like, oh, you wouldn't get that. You haven't seen the Bo Burnham special yet. I'm like, okay, I'll watch it.
How did Gymshark win 2020? Consumer research. They worked with a test to learn more about their audience's changing habits, then pivoted their business to meet those needs. Visit askatest.com/D2C and use fast, accurate consumer research to get ahead. It's growth without guesswork.
This is amazing. We're actually going to start this podcast with this stinger for the first time ever. We're just going to roll right into a podcast. And I think we're even going to keep the Bo Burnham plug just at the beginning, just to get some real, honest talk. And if we get approval here from Clifford and Seth, because they haven't dropped too many, personal opinions yet. But welcome to All Killer No Filler. I'm Eric Dick, the host here. It is Thursday. We're not filming on Friday because I'm going camping this weekend, which I'm really excited about. But we thought it would be a great opportunity with Prime Day just around the corner, Amazon Prime Day. We thought it would be a great idea to bring together our Amazon buying team, our Amazon team, to discuss what we can do to prep for Prime Day, what we should have already done for Prime Day that you have to make sure you're doing next year. And then actually on Prime Day, is there anything that you can do to really boost your sales on that day, maximize your presence, maximize the longevity and the value that you drive from it. Before we get started, you got to go to directtoconsumer.co, which is our newsletter. You can subscribe to our twice a week D2C marketing newsletter for free. And it will be your it will be also a condensed summary of all the great insights that we provide in this podcast. So no pressure, guys. Who wants to start with the things that that you should be doing right now to maximize Prime Day?
Right now is a tough one. The before Prime Day, there's a lot leading up to it that you should do, but right now, a lot of it would be probably double checking everything beforehand. Like, it's too late for you to worry about inventory now. If it's not there, it's not going to get there in time anymore. Making sure all your listings are dialed in right now, making sure everything's ready to go. If you're going to be running some sort of like promo or something like that, some sort of deal, some sale, making sure that you have everything in place you need for that, which could mean that you have an Amazon store page set up, or you change your store header and you schedule that. You make sure your sales scheduled properly. We like to run on some of our clients that run bigger sales on Prime Day. We'll switch up like our second listing image or something like that for Prime Day. So getting that prepped and ready for that, just to point out to consumers that this sale is specifically for Prime Day when they get to the listing, and it kind of helps with that. I don't think we run a lot of Prime Day specific campaigns. I think it's a possibility. If you had a really, really unique product with a really broad appeal, there might be a hope there to go after some Prime Day related keywords, but they are insanely competitive and expensive. So you would have to have something that really appeals to the masses, or is really deeply discounted. So, if you had a pet food or something, if someone's searching Prime Day pet food deals or pet deals, maybe you had something that's kind of unique and is also deeply discounted for Prime Day, then running some ads to that might make sense. But I would almost always recommend not doing it, just because it's incredibly expensive and usually not worth it.
You'd really have to go big or go home there. You'd have to have, so, you're selling something at a loss leader and you're getting them into your funnel in other ways or something, but you have to have a big plan there, or big margin, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd say that we run, depending on the brand, we run two different strategies for Prime Day. So if you're already an established brand with an established market share and you're not really in like a growth phase, Prime Day is a great opportunity to make a lot of money. You can run ads relatively profitably. You don't have to make too many like big, large bid changes or budget changes. Just take advantage of the huge increased traffic on the day. Do a good job, like I said, with listing images and whatnot, run a little bit of a sale and make a lot of profit. If you're in the growth phase, you're on the other side of that, where you're likely going to be more aggressive with your advertising. you're going to probably run a deeper discount on your product, and you're using Prime Day as a way to gain ranking in comparison to the brands that are more established and aren't going as aggressive on Prime Day. So you're basically outbidding them for ad placements and trying to capture sales that might have went to your competitor brand that's already established market share. You're trying to take it away from them, give it to you. And Prime Day is a great day to do it because there's so much more traffic on the site. You can really accelerate your ranking growth on the platform in these 2 days.
Interesting. And how long do these effects last? Like if you're talking about someone taking market share from these big boys at this time, is that something that they see residual effects? You see on your accounts residual effects on you've sort of leveled up for the rest of the year?
Yeah, 100%. If you continue to maintain it, of course, there's a level that you have to continue to maintain. But I think last year's Prime Day, we were seeing something like 5-6 times the traffic of a day regular before, possibly even up to 10 times as much traffic as the day before. So you're literally getting, 8 to 10 times, up to 8 to 10 times, depending on your niche, traffic a regular day. If you can take advantage of that in drastic effect compared to your competition, Amazon sees that, or Amazon's algorithms see that as a large reason to push your product more. And it just, if you can take that and then continue to push it above your competition on from there, you could definitely just parlay that all the way into the rest of the year. It was easier to say it was a strong strategy last year because it was leading right into Q4 when Prime Day was in October. Prime Day is back to a normal date here somewhere in the middle of the summer here in late June. So it's a little tougher to say that you could parlay it all the way into Q4, but if you play your cards right, you definitely can.
Do we think Prime Day will be as big? Prime Day last year in October, it was like heart of the pandemic sort of thing. Do we think, and so there was a huge boost in e-commerce and online sales then. Do we think this Prime Day will be as big or bigger? Do you think it'll just continue that escalating trend?
I think that Amazon is always like really smart about when they make Prime Day happen. And I think that their strategy here was probably like vaccinations are rolling out, people are getting back to real life. Like that buy intent is kind of there anyway. People are going to travel and stuff. So like, I think a lot of people's initial reaction would be to say like, no, it's definitely not going to be as big. We're not like in the heat of COVID right now, but people are going to start doing stuff again. And
there's an upswing.
Yeah, that buy intent is there. I think people need a little bit of a nudge to do it, but that's exactly what Prime Day is. And I think a lot of people are probably, if anything, people are going to think that they don't need to work hard for this Prime Day because they're like, it's not really as important as like that mid-COVID thing. But like, I think it's going to be a big one for sure.
Is there any way you can translate that through your listing, through your ads, that sort of sense? Like obviously there's certain products that pool toys or things that people use to express freedom and fun, games, badminton sets, pickleball, like all those kinds of things, people wanting to get back out into the world. Any other thoughts on how to sort of like capitalize on that trend with your Amazon listing for Prime Day?
I'm trying to think. It's a hard one because obviously if you have a product that is good for like the time of year, I'd be more inclined to like discount it more just to drive more revenue, right? But I don't know about products that aren't really part of that whole like seasonality thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
There's not as much room for angle and things like that. You really just got to kind of tell things like they are.
You can always change your listing images or your bullets or even your A+ to be, you should change it as much as possible to be as like segmented to whatever time of year it is and whoever you're trying to sell to. But yeah, I'm not sure if Clifford has anything else to say though.
Yeah, I think a lot of the way that we try to run anything like that, like maybe your product does have some sort of angle that it does work for that. That's where we always try to utilize those sponsored brand to store ads. So we run that top of search ad with a headline that matches that keyword intent. So if someone is, I don't know, maybe you sell a ball that's not normally used on the beach and you want to push it as being a beach ball, then if you use that in your keyword search in your headline, and then you build out a store page that shows how it could be used for that intent, and you also on Prime Day switch out some of the imagery on that store page to show that it's a deal that they're getting and it's specifically this day's deal, I think that funnel can work really well. And it's basically the only place you have to build that funnel on Amazon.
OrderGroove's subscription platform enables merchants to rapidly scale recurring revenue, deliver a superior subscriber experience, and maximize subscriber lifetime value. Leading merchants utilize OrderGroove's powerful tools, promotions, and AI-powered personalization to drive subscriber enrollment, optimize subscriber retention, and increase average order value. Visit ordergroove.com/DTC to request a complimentary audit of your existing or future subscription program.
So just, yeah, you said this earlier, but just to be very clear for people, you said the second image in a set, you'd often want to have some reference to Prime Day. You still want the first image to be like the standard product. Second image, you could have what your deal is and some sort of call out about Prime Day.
Yeah, you you could try switching out the first image, but you're towing a line there of it's very much not in regulation, not in Amazon's regulations if you switch out your first image to not just be your product on a white background. But if it's only for 2 days, it's well, you might want to. If you think it's a big enough way that you can make it look good and drive traffic and conversions, it might be worth it to break the rules for a couple days and risk versus reward.
I've heard you express this sentiment before, and I come from a long line of affiliate marketers in the early, before 2010, let's say, and there was that mentality of risk and reward all the time. It's interesting. It's alive and well on Amazon. Do either of you have any, like, what's your best like Prime Day story, like in terms of what you were able to achieve, or what in terms of, you don't have to name the company or anything, but just like what's a good sort of like result you've helped achieve during a Prime Day that you're proud of?
I'm trying to think of what we did last year. I think me and Clifford are probably both thinking of the same example of one specific brand that, it was humongous.
I think it 10 times its sales, if not more than that.
Yeah. And it was like, it was so great because it was mid Q4, right? So we had that amazing Prime Day, and then it was like uphill from there. So it was really good.
What vertical was it?
Home decor type item.
Home decor type item.
Yeah, but it a lot of what we did to drive it was we started the sale early. So we started it a few days early, and we started also running Facebook traffic to Amazon as well. Not a lot, but because it's this odd thing where you can't put a pixel on Amazon, of course, right? So you can't feed Facebook what's converting and what's not. So it can only do so much for the optimization. And then on top of that, it's even hard to measure performance because attribution that is available on Amazon, like maybe running to a store page or using their attribution tool, both of those still aren't 100% either. So even feeding it back and trying to judge it, you're not really, you're really in the dark. So you really just have to measure for a total lift on how you're doing compared to typical, and just kind of measure across the board. But what we found is that those ads were running at a positive ROAS to their Shopify site while they were actually directing to Amazon. So we knew for a fact that even if a few of these people are converting on Amazon, which we're sure they were, that these must be working because we're getting a positive ROAS to Shopify, and it's not even directing to Shopify. So that's
really interesting. I remember this is a year ago. We were talking about the Facebook Amazon bridge, which was you can reach back and watch the podcast on that if you're listening. Is that something we're going to do again this year, or was that something client specific, more experimental? Are we doing that again?
It was more experimental. I think we are likely doing it again in a couple cases. I would say we've switched up our strategy of how we're doing it now, and we're a lot more store focused. A lot of that has come from Amazon building out more of the store in that time and allowing you to put more there and more branded focus. So yeah, a little bit more store focused, and I think there's a little bit better attribution there that's possible. And we also just have just general learnings of what creative works and headlines and whatnot work from last year.
Nice. So how plugged are you guys into Amazon? Like just in your daily lives, are you guys big Amazon fans? I'm sure what's your sort of just take on what Amazon is in the world?
How much can we rag on Amazon? What if we like really, really don't like them, but they have provided an amazing marketplace for people? That's how I feel about Amazon.
Hypothetically, what if that's the case?
They
Yeah, yeah,
subscribe.
hypothetically.
We do have some Amazon listeners, but I'm sure they know, right? Like I'm sure anyone who's got their hands on the tools all the time is always going to have a love-hate relationship with a platform. You know, it's sort of inevitable.
It's a fantastic, amazing marketplace that they've built for consumers.
Yeah.
For sellers, it is much more of a headache, and I think they know that. So I don't know, anyone who's running an Amazon and has to deal with their seller support and all the problems and different shady sellers hijacking your UPCs or your listings or screwing with your reviews or inventory issues caused by Amazon or any of the million headaches that they give you, will know that it's not a fun playground to be in, but I mean, it's where all the customers are because Amazon's done such a good job building their consumer side of things that you kind of have to be there.
Any suggestions for how? It's funny. I've been around marketers for 15 years now, and they all, you know, there's suggestions for like, oh, you should be doing it like this or this, you know, and you shouldn't do it this way. But every time you actually examine those things, it's usually just because they've chosen to prioritize the customer experience, right? And it's just inevitably, it's, you know, in that game, you're coming from it from the other perspective. But is there anything that you think that Amazon could do to make sellers' lives easier without, you know, affecting the customer experience?
The main one I've been thinking, and I've spoken with a rep that we've spoken to at Amazon before, is a lot of the reason that Amazon's had to put in these regulations is because of the freedom that they allow for people just to come on and sell. So there's a lot of very shady sellers trying to, like, you know, sell counterfeit products and whatnot on the site. And so Amazon has had to really crack down and do things like not let you comment on your own reviews anymore and things like this that you would think would just be common sense. Um, and so what we've discussed before is just having some sort of like process that you go through that like proves that you're not that, which is supposed to be their brand registry process, but that's become a lot more saturated, I think, and a lot of the shady sellers make it through that as well. So maybe some sort of like, I don't want to say star rating is such an Amazon thing, but like some sort of process that you could prove like over time, like your account health, and maybe you get access to other features or you get access to a dedicated support rep and things like that. Because as far as we've found that even paying for Amazon's support, which you can pay an extra fee to Amazon monthly to pay for a support person, they still don't give you much better support than just calling in as any other seller. Which
That's not great.
Support is that's interesting.
Okay, so you got to fix your support. If you're listening, Jeff, you got to fix that seller support. Definitely. I think that's good advice. And you know, and this I should clarify too. We were talking earlier about bending the rules and things like that. That's sort of irrelevant in the scale of what people try to get away with on Amazon. Like Amazon is like brute force attacked, I feel like, by sellers like across the board, whether it's just spamming with different variations or like I think there's a lot of effort to perpetually try to spam Amazon from shady actors.
It's hilarious that you bring it up today, because literally today we were just some small news story came out of, there is like a posture corrector item sold by some overseas manufacturer who is selling it, who they hijacked the reviews from Amazon's Echo Dot. So all of the reviews on their posture corrector, they had tens of thousands of reviews, were all for the Amazon Echo Dot. Amazon's own product got their like reviews hijacked because how poorly their backend system is set up to allow like any seller to do this. So it's just an amazing example that even their own listings, they can't keep track of this.
Oh my goodness. And it's funny, you look at other platforms and they did, like Google, Facebook, like they put so much energy into the ad side of their business, let's say specifically, and making and there's always been we butted heads with it at different times. But it feels like Amazon's got to put a little bit more attention into their seller section. I'm glad we could hash this out today, guys. Any big weekend plans?
I think me and Clifford are both gonna be gaming all weekend.
What's your game?
Oh man, this is so embarrassing, but I've been playing Sims a lot lately.
Nice.
I don't know if that counts as gaming.
My wife likes Sims,
I
definitely.
love Sims, man.
That's so cool. What about you, Cliff?
I'm playing the Burning Crusade Classic all over again. World of Warcraft 15 years ago, remade. Fantastic. Can't get away
Amazing.
from it. Incredibly addicted.
And because we're going nerdy, I got to ask my question that you told me not to ask because it's too risky. But what does Optimus think of Prime Day, Amazon Prime Day?
Oh man, I asked one of our junior buyers. I said, Eric is going to ask me this question. What would you say? And he said, let me find it. It's actually pretty good. He's good at this kind of stuff. He said, Optimus has been primed for Prime Day since last Prime Day, and he says you need to be too.
That's well, then we'll just leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for coming on today. This was a good free flowing podcast. I think we might have to try it more like this a little bit more often. So I thank you for giving me the confidence that we could riff. It's been interesting. So thanks for your inputs today, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.
Okay. Peace.
Yeah.
If you're still listening, make sure you go to directtoconsumer.co right now and subscribe to our twice a week newsletter. We've got lots of great options there. We're going to be rolling out a lot of exciting things in the next little while. So make sure you stay tuned and share the podcast, rate the podcast. Thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.